Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Indian Bull vs Bear. In this video, I'll take you on the journey of gold and silver prices across the last 6 decades, and based on historical data of last 55 odd years, I'll try to find out whether they are still good investment options. Also, I'll present the historical data of US dollars to Indian rupee exchange rate to identify how much approximately it impacts the increasing inflation in our country. Finally, I'll try to find out any correlation between gold silver prices and USD-INR exchange rate. Please read the entire disclaimer carefully. So gold holds a deep cultural, economic and financial significance in India. It is more than just a commodity, it is an integral part of traditions, investments and even the national economy. So my analysis is based on the data since 1970. So the gold price, 10 gram gold, the gold price in 1970 was 176 rupees per 10 gram, which is now 89,000 rupees. Silver, which is often called as the poor man's gold, holds cultural, industrial and investment significance in India. While not as revered as gold, silver plays an essential role in traditions, investment portfolios and industries. Silver, 1 kg silver costs rupees 511 in 1970, which is now close to 1 lakh rupees. USD to INR, the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Indian rupee, plays a crucial role in India's economy, affecting trade, inflation, foreign investments, and economic growth. In 1970, 1 USD was equals to 7.5 rupees. Now it's approximately 87. Let's see a couple of graphs. This is the first graph, which is gold price trend across lustrums. So for those who don't know what lustrum is a term used to denote a 5-year period. So if you see from 1970, gold has given very good returns across lustrums. So for example, 85% here from 1975 to 79, then it doubled in the next period of 5 years. So good, significant. Only this one, the 5 years period from 1995 to 1999 is when gold gave negative returns, and this is the only instance in last 55 years where when gold gave negative returns. Recently, if you see over here, so in last 5 years, the gold has given returns of 121%. That is more than doubled the money in the last 5 years itself. Let's move on to the next graph, and this graph shows the trend across decades. So instead of lustrums, I have used decades this time. So if you see in 80s, in 10-year period, this the gold gave 235% returns. 90s was not good for gold, and gold only gave 35% returns in 10 years in the 1990s. In 2000, that is from 2000 to 2009, in those 10 years, gold gave returns of 242%. From 2010 to 2019, gold gave returns of 143%. And in the last 5 years, that is the 5 years of 2020s, the gold has already given the returns of 153%. So we have only covered 5 years of this decade, and the gold has already given the returns of 153%. So the question is, gold a good investment option? I'll say it depends on the investment horizon and the risk appetite. Gold has historically given decent returns while carrying significantly less risk. The central banks across the globe are buying gold in bulk. Gold prices always rises when there is uncertainty around the world, and of late and in foreseeable future, there is no shortage of uncertainty. Now let's see how silver has performed. So this graph is the silver price trend across lustrums. So if you see, silver too has performed very well over the years, and you see, so it increased by 234% in this lustrum of 1975 to 79, although there was some issue in 1979 which drove the prices of silver to a very high level, and then the prices crashed. In 1980 to 84 period, it gave returns of 111%. These two lustrums, basically this decade was not good for silver, and more recently 2015 to 2019 silver gave negative returns. But in the last 5 years, from 2020 till the end of 2024, silver has given silver has given returns of 136%. Let's see the decades data. So this is the silver price trend across decades data. And if you see over here, over a period of 10 years, this silver is giving actually good returns. So 254% returns, 274% returns in this decade. This 90s was not a good decade for silver, and only 13% returns in those 10 years, and 191% in 2000s, 83% in 2010s, and already 144% in 5 years of this decade. So now, is silver a good investment option? I'll say similar to gold, this too depends on the investment time horizon and the risk appetite. It has given historically decent returns, again carrying less risk. So the cumulative returns are not as good as gold, but this too seems to be changing in last 5 years if that data is anything to go by. Also, since silver is used in semiconductor chips, circuit boards, and in majority of electronic devices these days, its demand is only going to increase. Now let's move on to a very interesting graph, and this is the combined trend across lustrums. So this graph shows the combined trend of gold and silver prices across the 5-year period since 1970. So a very interesting and strange pattern is present in this graph if you notice carefully. See, in this 5-year period, silver was down, gold was up. In the next 5-year period, silver gave better returns than gold. Next 5 years, they both gave almost equal returns. Next 5 years, silver again gave better returns than gold. In next 5 years, the pattern switches, and this time gold gave better returns than silver. In next 5 years, this switches again, and silver gave better returns than gold. Next 5 years, silver again gave better return than gold. Next 5 years, gold gave better returns than silver. In the lustrum of 2010 to 2014, both gave almost similar returns. In the 5-year period from 2015 to 2019, gold gave better returns than silver. In fact, silver gave negative returns. But the most interesting thing is this. In the last 5 years, silver has outperformed gold. Silver has given returns of 135.7%, whereas gold has given returns of 120 odd percent. So very, very important piece of information. Let's move on to the next graph, which is the USD to INR trend across terms. So if we see from 1970 onwards, there were a couple of instances in which the USD to INR was negative. In fact, this one is one, and in 2000 to 2004 period as well, the exchange rate was negative. But of late, if we see, this exchange rate is quite significant. So in a 5-year period, 20% rise in the USD to INR exchange rate. That means on an average 4% per year. 4% per year. Our inflation is around 6-7% a year. I'm not saying that this 4% directly converts to 4 out of 6-7% inflation, but this plays a significant role. Reason being, all the international trade happens in USD. So in order to buy a USD, Indian companies have to spend more Indian rupee to carry out any transaction. India is a net importer, which means that India imports more than it exports. So a strong USD is not favorable for India, though there are few sectors like IT sector, etc., which benefits a lot with strong USD. But India's GDP or India's economy as a whole does not, because we are net importer. Had we been the next net exporter, then this would be an entirely opposite case, and the strong USD would be beneficial for us. But that is not the case. Now let's see this USD to INR trend across decades. And if you see in 2010 decade, the USD to INR exchange rate was 54%. So it rises by 54% from 2010 to 2019. Now in last 5 years, that is from 2020 till now, it has increased by 22%. So again, roughly 4% each year, as we have noted in the last graph as well. So this is not good, and if it I don't know, if it continues to be continues to go up, then it would actually would not be very helpful for us as an Indian. Anyways, let's move on to the last graph, in which I'll try to identify a pattern between the gold and silver prices and this USD to INR exchange rate. So in this line graph, this orange or golden line shows the gold prices, this gray or silver line shows the silver prices, and this green line shows the USD to INR exchange rate. So very interesting pattern if you see over here. In 1970s, the decade is of 70s, this exchange rate was 7%, and the gold and silver rate returns were quite high, with 250 and around 400%. In the next decade, this difference decreased, and in next decade, that is in 90s, this USD to INR overtakes the returns of gold and silver. Then in next decade, that is 2000, the pattern reverses, and gold and silver gave better returns, and USD to INR exchange rate drops down to 7%. In 2010, the USD to INR exchange rate increases, whereas the returns of gold and silver decreases. Now in the ongoing decade of 2020s, in which we are already in the 5th year, that is in 2025, we can see that the gold and silver returns are increasing, whereas the exchange rate seems to be stable, or seems to be changing at the similar rate as in 2010s. So I do not know what the future holds, but the gold and silver prices seems to be going up, whereas the USD to INR exchange rate seems to be stabilizing. So that is all from my side in this video. Thank you for watching it. Please subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and share and like this video. Let me know your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.